I continued to do while still in the UK. So apart from putting the double glazed window in, there was also a question of putting an extractor fan on for the oven. These are all bits and pieces that have been around for a couple of years or 3 years now, and never been fitted. So time for Dad to get stuck in. This meant connecting it up to, there were already cables in, so the house had been rewired at some stage by someone other than myself. So I'm really just working off what's available in and around the house as far as an electrical supply is concerned. And there were already cables, like I said, there was already a circuit just directly above this unit. Let's get rid of the sound there. And there was also a hole for the extractor fan, which wasn't too far away from where it needed to be. So I actually ended up utilising that. And then it came on to, my son-in-law had also managed to pick up some boards from a school he'd been working at. So we decided we would use those as sort of frame this bit that had been opened up at some stage, but that wall had been taken down, not by myself. Looking again at, so the plaster's in place there, and the wooden frame's in place too. The wooden frame, could have tried and glued it to that, but I just thought what I'm going to do is put some screws and scrim in and see once the plaster's in place whether that'll just hold that top section. If it doesn't, it'd just be a question of putting in something like no glues in, and just again using something like an acro prop just to hold it for a couple of hours just until it glues itself. But I'm fairly confident the plaster would hold it in position with the screws and that, because plaster's going to hold the screws and the screws going to hold the timber. I hope that makes sense. So that's that side of it taken care of, and then it's a question of starting to bring this out in bonding, and so they can see the scrim and they see the nails or the screws that are just sort of screwed into the side of the frame there. Then again, we got electrics to sort of play around with, so I'm not overly happy with, but there you go. It is what it is as far as the cables are concerned. There's an old I think that was the old box that the cables directly above it were connected into, which is just going to get sort of boxed off into sort of junction box out of the way. And this was me ready then to make a start, hopefully, on the plastering, get the bonding in, and then put sort of skimming across it so there you can see the first sort of coat's been put on. So we'll sort of wet the area down first, and then put the first coat and then the second coat, and then it should be ready for a finish. And then just looking on the outside, I did try and tooth out the brickwork that was there so that it would have all joined in a bit nicer. But unfortunately, with them being a London brick, they didn't want to do that. It looked like I was going to lose more bricks than that. So with time being limited on this, I decided, well, I'll just take the brickwork up. That's all right. I know you've got straight joins there, and it's a tad ugly. But it is what it is. I just didn't have the time. I didn't have my grinder with me anyway, and didn't have the time to try and gently ease out the mortar around all the bricks. The new brick, you can see they've been added down in the middle by someone when they put the door in that I'd then taken out to replace by the window. So I hope this is not getting too confusing for you. Anyway, second coat then goes on, and possibly on to putting the finish on. And it's the same with, obviously, in and around the new window on the inside. So it needs to be brought out in places with a bit of bonding. And with that, then I can then get ready to put the finish on. Now, the sort of cables here, then everywhere, unfortunately, in this particular house, and I would have liked them all being properly rerouted and that, but my son-in-law insisted it wasn't going to be a problem and that he would always know where the cables and that were. So that's why we're just gone ahead with it as it is. So there you go. So there you can see that becomes what was the circuit becomes just a little junction box there just to close off that, and then there's an old light switch going in, or which will then get played. They'll just replace that grubby light switch with the newer one. And then just bringing down this area here. So I think there've been various ideas over the years, obviously before I sort of come along, and what this area is going to be looking like, where he sort of toyed with the idea of maybe putting a breakfast bar in, which is why they've taken this sort of big section out of the wall and not just have a walk in through into the like a standard doorway into the kitchen. But anyway, you just have to, with all these things, you sort of, it's not my house. I'm trying to help as much as I can. So I'm just trying to, whatever I can do just to alleviate any minor problems, I prefer to do that and allow the house to progress. So there you can see the finish is on and it's just waiting for it to be flattened down a wee bit. It's a little bit damp there. So you sort of flatten it down before you try and put a finish on. And the same with these sections here. It actually took quite a long time to do, to be honest with you. Plastering is not my favourite trade, and I'm not particularly good at it, to be honest with you. So it took me a heck of a long time to do what plaster probably would have done in a couple of hours. But it got done, and that's the main thing. And it means then they can get on and sort of decorate this kitchen area and move forward. They're looking to get worktops and stuff in at a later stage and new flooring. So you just try and do whatever you can do to help the young couple. Right, so quite like the board. So I'm really pleased with the board you brought back, nice and tidy. And here's me doing a sort of late. Again, it looks like it's midnight outside, but it's probably only about 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. So what I've done is I've flattened down the plaster, and then I've tried to put a finish on it. Then I've gone up and had a shower and come back down, and then decided I'd take a wee bit more footage. So this was quite difficult in real terms. This was sort of more difficult and more awkward for me than actually getting the window in. But anyway, it's done. So that's good. Yeah. What else can I say on this? Not a great deal really. There you can see the electrics ready to be put into position. Obviously, when it's dried off a wee bit, and then obviously we're at the end of November, and it's thirsty work. So I managed to get myself a few bottles of IPA to pass the evenings like that. My very clever son-in-law, he's got his 3D printer and he loves printing stuff off, and this is some stuff he's made for the lead up to Christmas 2025. We were also to be able to take an opportunity later in the afternoon to head down to Lakeside in Essex, just have a bit of wander around and a wee bit of Christmas shopping. So it's an enormous, I don't know if you don't know it, it's an enormous shopping area, and it's got various retail complexes in and around it. So it's got kind of anything and everything you'd ever want as far as Christmas shop, as far as any shopping is concerned, but particularly this time of year, Christmas shopping. Anyway, getting near to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, a bit different. And I'll see you on the next UK video.